Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 5 of the holiday card series. Today I'm using 2 new stamp sets from Mama Elephant, Arctic Penguins and Season's Greetings. And I'm going to start out with the penguin stamp set. I'm stamping the penguin in Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to be doing some masking and then coloring with Copic markers. So first I cut out a mask of just the penguin. I previously used it on another card, so you'll see that it's used, and I only needed it to be cut out on the bottom portion on the last card I made, so that's all I have here. I then took one of the ice pieces from the stamp set and stamped that right over the little penguin. And then I'll peel up that mask so that I can see exactly what I have here. I took the little present from the stamp set and stamped that down onto the ice piece as well, just to make him a little bit more festive. And then I know I'm going to be doing some more masking so that I can create a background. So I thought while I have the stamp set out, I would go ahead and stamp that same ice piece on some Inkadinkado stamping mask paper and then cut it out really carefully. And I'll just set this aside until I'm ready to use it later. I'm now going to start coloring him. I just colored his beak or his mouth and then some greens for his ice skates. I'm going to be using some cool gray tones to color the shading on the penguin. Even though he is white, he does need a little bit of shading so that it shows that there's some light coming from above. So I'll just start out with C2 and put that down. And then I'll be swapping that out for C0 to bring out the edge there a little bit. And I'll just feather that on a little bit. And then to further sort of let it fade off into the white, I'll use a colorless blender and just come in from the center of the penguin and add a little bit of colorless blender going down into the gray. Then I'm going to color the ice that's underneath him, and I'm using some cool blue colors for that. I'm using B quadruple zero, B triple zero, and B double zero. And I just started with the darkest color first, and I did this so that I could get some color building up first. So I started with B00 and then I went to B000 and just brought that out a little bit more. Similar idea to what I did with when I was shading the penguin. I started with the darkest color first and then went to the lightest color. And when I get to the B quadruple zero, I basically just color over the entire piece of ice here, just because I wanted to have it all with some color. So I'll just give that one big wash of color. And as far as the present goes, I am going to be using some shades of red. And the one like tip I want to give you guys is that when I'm coloring little tiny areas like this, and the ice skates and the present are a good example of this, I really only use 2 different colors. I use a lighter color and then a darker color, because when you've got such a small area like this, you don't need to add a bunch of different colors trying to get that blend, because there's not much space to blend anyway. So I'm going to bring in 2 different colors of red. I'm using R35 and R39, and I just do a whole wash of that R35, which is a good like basic red color. And then I'm bringing in some R39 as the shadow on the present. And I'll bring back the 35 just to blend that out just a tiny bit. And now I'm going to do some more masking. I've finished cutting out that penguin, so it's completely cut out. And then I'm going to put that piece of ice over top as well. I'm doing this because I'm going to be adding a background, and I don't want any of the Copic coloring to be colored by the ink that I'm adding. So I'm also going to add a large strip of Post-it tape. This is the 2-inch wide Post-it tape. I could have used a smaller amount of tape, but I was afraid I might go over that amount, so I decided to use the larger amount. I'm using 4 different colors of Distress ink today, and I'm starting with the lightest color, which is Tumbled Glass, and I'm really making sure that as I add the color over top of the penguin, that I always sweep from the bottom of the penguin up to the top, because as you can see, it started to peel up a little bit. I'd used that mask multiple times, and I didn't really want to stay put after a while. So then I moved on to Broken China, and it looks a little messy right now, but as I start adding more and more color on top, things will start blending. So this is Chipped Sapphire. It's almost like a purplish blue. It's a really pretty color. And just to darken up that Chipped Sapphire, I'm going to bring in some black soot as well. And that's just going to really deepen that color at the very top of this sort of background scene. So I cleaned up my craft mat and just got rid of all that ink. And then I peeled off that mask very carefully. I wanted to take off the piece of ice and also the penguin, so I had to be careful as I peeled that up. Then I just took a piece of cardstock and just put that over top. I thought about putting another piece of masking tape down, but I'm only going to be using one color here and it's minimal blending, so I thought I'd be okay with that, and I was. So I'm just bringing in that tumbled glass coming from the edge, and that creates the entire background scene. So I'll go ahead and peel up my masking here and you'll be able to get a better idea of the scene that I'm creating. So just peel up that piece of ice, and then I'll also peel up that penguin. And I think it's so fun to do masking because you don't really see exactly what it's going to look like until you peel off all the masks. So I heat set that with a heat gun just because the distress ink does take a while to dry. I'm going to do some embossing, so I did a test run. I wanted to make sure that that embossing powder wouldn't stick, and it seemed to be okay, so I moved on. Using the EK Success Powder Tool, this just puts down a little light layer of powder so the embossing powder doesn't stick to areas where you haven't stamped. I'm going to use the greeting from that Seasons Greeting stamp set. It's nice and large, and I've stamped that in Versamark ink. I like how the two G's on greetings sort of nestle right around the penguin. And I also stamped it at a diagonal because this greeting already has a slant to it, so it looks really cool at a diagonal. I don't know that I would really stamp a greeting at a diagonal unless the letters were already slanted. I think it looks a little bit forced if they aren't slanted already. So I put some Hero Arts white embossing powder on that, and then heat set that with my heat tool until it melted. And then now I'm going to be prepping my card base. So I have a piece of Neenah 110 pound cardstock, and I'm scoring that at 5.5. It's going to be a top folding card. I then put some Tombow Extreme adhesive all along the back of my inked piece and press that down onto my card base. In order to really press that down, I did use that piece of scratch paper. I was worried about rubbing my hands over it, so I thought the scratch paper would be a little bit more safe just until all the ink is completely settled. Took a white gel pen and added some dashed lines and also some stars. This is reminiscent of the day 3 video of the card series. I just couldn't help myself from adding some stars. I thought it looked so pretty. So I added those on. And now I'm going to stamp a little Santa hat for the penguin. I probably should have done this when I was doing all the coloring before, but I didn't know if I wanted it or not. And I decided that I did need that extra pop of red because the present just looked a little bit lonely. It didn't have another color to kind of match to it. So I just colored the Santa hat in those same red colors that I colored the present. And then I took my scissors and cut it out super carefully. This Santa hat is so tiny, but it worked out okay. I used my Memento Tuxedo Black marker to paint the white edges of the cardstock. This just makes it look a little bit more like it's cut out perfectly. I used some Tombow Mono Multi-Glue to glue down that hat. And then I'm going to take some clear Wink of Stella glitter brush pen and add a little bit of shimmer on top of the hat, the present, and also his ice skates. And that finishes the card for today. I loved all the masking and the coloring, and I hope you check out these new stamp sets from Mama Elephant. There's a blog hop happening over at my blog, and I will catch you guys on Friday. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I have 5 more videos on screen right now for you to click on and watch. They are all day 5 videos from the previous years of the holiday card series. So go ahead and click on any of those if you'd like some additional holiday card inspiration. Please give this video a big thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button in the top corner. You can visit my blog at kwarnerdesign.com, and I will catch you guys on Friday for day 6 of the holiday card series. Thanks for watching.